The first snow of the year came softly, the way the best things often do, without any announcement at all. Inside the little bookshop called the Lantern, a woman named Cora was reaching for the latch to lock the door for the night. It had been a quiet evening. In truth, it had been a quiet season. The bell above the door had not rung once since the middle of the afternoon, and she had already begun to think of the warm supper waiting for her upstairs and the book she meant to read beside it. And then, just as her fingers touched the cold brass of the lock, the bell rang. A man stood on the threshold, snow gathered on the shoulders of his coat, a small worn case in one gloved hand. He looked, she thought, like someone who had been walking a good while, and had only just remembered how cold he was. "I'm terribly sorry," he said. "I saw your light still burning." "You have missed the last train," Cora said. It was not really a question. The 9:40 was the last of the day, and it had already left the station a quarter of an hour before, sighing its way north into the dark. "I have," he admitted, "and the inn on the square is full for the winter market. I only wondered whether I might wait somewhere out of the snow until the morning train comes." She might easily have told him the shop was closed. Instead, she found herself opening the door a little wider, so that the lamplight spilled out gold onto the white step. "The stove is still warm," she said, "and I was just about to make a pot of tea. You had better come inside before you let all the cold in with you." He stepped over the threshold, and the bell gave a second small ring above his head, as though it were pleased to have been of some use. While the kettle found its voice on the little stove, the man wandered slowly down the aisles, the way that only true readers ever do, with his hands clasped behind his back and his head tilted to read the spines. Cora watched him from behind the counter and felt the old, familiar gladness of it. There was very little in the world she liked better than the sight of someone entirely at ease among their books. "You have a lovely shop," he said at last. "It has the feeling of a place that has been here a long time." 40 years, or near enough," she answered. "My mother kept it before me, and her aunt before that. People used to come in from the next 3 villages on a market day." She did not say aloud the thought that came after, that they came less often now, that some evenings the bell did not ring at all, and she had learned to count the quiet as a kind of company. But perhaps he heard it anyway, somewhere underneath the words. She brought the tea across in 2 mismatched cups, and they settled into the chairs beside the stove while the snow thickened at the glass. They talked the way that strangers sometimes can, more easily than old friends, asking little and offering much. After a time, the man rose and crossed to a low shelf near the back of the shop, and drew out a slim volume bound in faded green cloth. He held it for a long moment before he spoke. "This one," he said. "How long have you had it here?" Cora smiled to see which book it was. "Years and years. Longer than I can honestly tell you. It has never once sold, that little book. Not a single copy in all that time." She said it fondly, the way one might speak of a stray cat that had wandered in and quietly decided to stay. "But I've never had the heart to send it back to the printer. I read it myself one long winter, and I loved it dearly. So it stays where it is." The man turned the small book over and over in his hands. When he spoke again, his voice had gone very quiet and very careful. "May I tell you something," he said, "that I have not told a living soul in a great many years?" Cora set down her cup and nodded. "I wrote it." He looked up at her, almost shy, a grown man suddenly unsure of himself. "A long time ago now. My name is printed on the inside, if you care to look. I wrote it, and I sent it out into the world the way you send a small boat out onto a wide sea. And the world did not appear to notice it at all. No letters ever came. No one wrote to say that they had read it, or that it had meant a thing to them. And after a while I decided that the silence was its own kind of answer. So I put my pen away in a drawer, and I did not take it up again." "And what was it about?" Cora asked gently. "Your little book?" "A lamplighter," he said, and a small warmth came into his face at the remembering. "An old lamplighter in a town not so very different from this one. Every evening he walks the streets and lights the lamps, one by one, so that no one need come home in the dark. Nobody thinks much of him. Nobody so much as knows his name. And yet the whole town is a little kinder and a little less lonely for the small and steady thing that he does each night. whether or not a single soul ever thinks to thank him for it. He gave a soft, rueful laugh. I suppose I understood that man rather well. I know, said Cora quietly. I read it, remember. That is exactly why I kept it. For a little, while neither of them said anything at all, the stove ticked softly to itself. The snow went on falling past the window, gentle and unhurried, gathering along the sill. Then someone did read it, Cora said at last, and she loved it, and she kept it safe upon her shelf for all these years, never once knowing that one snowy night the very man who wrote it would walk in through her door, only so that she might tell him so. She saw his eyes shine in the lamplight. He looked away toward the stove, and then he laughed again, a small, surprised, breaking sort of laugh, the kind that lives very close to tears. Would you, Cora said, do me one great kindness and sign it for me? And so he did. He laid the little green book open upon the counter, and he signed his name inside the cover, and his hand was not entirely steady as he wrote. When it was done, the book seemed to them both to weigh a little more than it had before, though of course it weighed exactly the same as ever. The snow stopped a little before dawn. They had talked the whole night through about books and towns and the long roads that run between them, and neither of them had noticed the hours slipping quietly by. When the first gray light came to the window, the man gathered up his coat and his small case, for the morning train would not wait for anyone, not even for a night such as this one had been. At the door he paused and turned back. Thank you, he said, for the tea, and for keeping it all this while. Thank you, said Cora, for writing in the first place. When he had gone, she did not put the little green book back upon its low shelf at the back of the shop. She set it instead in the very center of the window, where the clean morning light would be certain to find it, and beside it she placed a small card written out in her own neat hand. It said only this, not for sale, a great favorite of the house, and the shop, she thought, as the kettle began once more to sing, felt a little warmer than it had in a very long while. Wherever you happen to be tonight, and whatever quiet task is keeping your hands busy, thank you for spending this little while here with us. Rest easy, and whenever you are ready, there will always be another story waiting.